Welcome into No Punt Intended, presented by Club Fantasy. I am your host, Joe Zollo. It is now week 4 of our team previews heading into the 2024 fantasy football season. We have the Jets, Vikings, and Broncos this week. In New York, Jets means Mr. Howard Bender joins the show with us tonight. Let's get into it. Welcome into No Punt Intended, presented by Club Fantasy. I'm your host, Joe Zollo. Just Josh this week, and we kicked out the other old guy to replace him with a younger guy, I think. I don't know his age. Howard Bender. Howard, how are you?
You don't see this gray in this beard? Come on.
You should see the gray in Ryan's beard. I think it might beat yours.
I don't think Ryan's in his 50s. Is Ryan in his 50s?
No,
I don't
not.
think so.
He definitely acts like he's in his 50s. Does that count?
This is true.
You know what? Every one of us does. We all go through. Once you get past like 45, you start hitting that midlife existential crisis. And since I can't afford a sports car and I'm too out of shape to get a 21-year-old girl, I just have to sit here and just shake my fist angrily at the clouds and yell into the void.
I was about to ask what your midlife crisis purchase was, but apparently it's just depression. So I'm happy for you.
And I pay for it every day.
Yeah, I'm happy for you, and all the best to you and yours. One day you'll get there. All right. Before we go into the three teams, starting off NFL news, Darren Waller officially retires. How much does this really matter? That's such a good question, guys. That's a great question.
It's a big blow to the music industry, though, let me tell you, because my Lord.
I mean, Kelsey Plum really winning out in this divorce. In the same week Darren Waller retires, she makes Team USA. Nice. He has only taken L's since that whole thing went down. So this does help, presumably, Theo Johnson.
Yes.
So that's good. Maybe Daniel Bellinger, but we'll see completely. But for those who maybe got Theo Johnson in late third, fourth round, you're feeling pretty good right now. So he has realistically no competition in front of him. So that's the biggest news with Darren Waller retiring. It doesn't affect the Giants in terms of real football in the slightest. So it may just affect their tight end spot in terms of fantasy football. Bender's thinking on how it affects them realistically in real life.
Well, I mean, the Giants are just, they're not going to be good, and everything's pinned on the hopes of Daniel Jones and whatnot. But from a fantasy standpoint, I mean, listen, there's this wide receiver room. You got Malik Neighbors. Maybe Jalen Hyatt takes another step, but the problem is that they don't have a clear-cut number two. So Daniel Bellinger's got the mobility of a refrigerator. So just let him sit as an inline tight end, let him handle the blocking, use the athleticism of Theo Johnson and make him a target. He has the potential. If he can take this job and suit it nicely, because, Brian Daboll loves working in the tight end. So if Theo Johnson can prove himself and have a strong positive camp, he does have the potential of blossoming into a top 3 targeted guy in this passing game. It's not the greatest passing game, but it's something.
But he's top 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, he can. They'll get some targets over to Wan'Dale Robinson also, and Daboll's been scheming for him quite a bit. So I mean, this will be 2 years removed off of the ACL, but I just feel like that Hyatt's best spot is also the slot. So it's going to be they'll scheme some targets for Wan'Dale. Jalen Hyatt will get some of the deep stuff, and it's just kind of That whole passing attack is just it's middle league neighborhood busted.
All I'm hearing, Theo Johnson's gonna be the second leader in targets.
Hey, if he can actually show up, then there's definitely an opportunity for it, 100%.
I mean, that's basically 80% of the battle with this Giants offense is just showing up, and you may be a viable option in fantasy football. That's half the battle. But going to the other team, not technically in New York, but sharing the name, the New York Jets, 7-10 last year. Again, we're at this point of the team previews. They really went 7-10. Like, they really had a 7-10 record. That's insane.
That was like 6 wins by the defense.
Yeah, exactly.
And 10 wins by Zach Wilson, just for the other team. Yeah. So, when you think about it, undefeated season. If you think about it that way,
it's kind of mean, Joe.
Yeah, it's
kind of mean.
It checks out. Don't hate me. Hate your team.
I have to turn my camera off and cry for a moment.
That's the depression we were talking about earlier. It's okay.
No, it's all right.
Yeah. Sponsored by BetterHelp Therapy. Same coach, Robert Saleh. Same offense, Aaron Rodgers. Technically Nathaniel Hackett. If he's just there. He's the body. Aaron Rodgers, obviously, quarterback 1 until his other Achilles snaps. 8 plays in this time. Quarterback 20 currently. Underdog ADP as of June 10th. Again, this is best ball ADP, not many redrafts happening, so all of these ADPs are going to be based off best ball. RB1, Breece Hall, currently the RB3 being drafted on Underdog. Braylon Allen, 61, and Isaiah Davis, 81. No competition for Breece Hall. Fun fact, he's pretty much the lone dog there. I'm sure Braylon Allen and maybe Isaiah Davis will be in there at most to give him relief. So this is Breece Hall's backfield. Speaking of the receiver room, this is Garrett Wilson's receiver room. Wide receiver 8. Mike Williams, they brought over from L.A., dropped down to wide receiver 55. If you don't think Garrett Wilson is going to probably see another 150-plus targets, you're wrong. After that, it drops steeply down to Malachi Corley. Okay, wide receiver 74. And then, for some reason, we have not 1, not 2, but 3 receivers listed, all with an ADP above 100. I didn't write the show sheet. Josh did. Alan Lazard, wide receiver 108, Mr. Alan Lazard. Wide receiver 5, Xavier Gipson. He is strictly on this show sheet because Scott Fishbowl has returned touchdowns in their scoring this year. That is the only reason Xavier Gipson is on this show sheet currently. And you want to know why there's a 6th guy on this sheet? Is because former top 10 NFL draft pick Corey Davis is wide receiver 130 in Underdog ADP in his 6th on the New York Jets depth chart.
And he's retired. That's why it's funny.
Jets technically own his rights, right?
Yeah.
They technically own his rights. So, yeah. I mean, if you're under Corey Davis and he's retired, that's a tough look for you. That was
I'm
almost
just trying to figure out why people are still drafting him in Underdog at this point.
I mean, remember when
has an ADP?
Remember when they were drafting Randy Moss and he was retired just in case Randy Moss came back and was Randy Moss? What if Corey Davis comes back and is Corey Davis?
Well, then it's subtract. It's negative by addition there.
Subtraction by addition.
Subtraction by addition. It would be the worst thing in the world to put Corey Davis on the field anywhere. I mean, listen, was there ever? I mean, well, no, not was there ever, because there are a ton of guys out there who just flat out miss. But was there ever a stronger fan base in the fantasy community of Corey Davis truthers out there? Who, where are they? Do you?
This guy.
Dude,
he was a huge Corey Davis guy.
I love Corey Davis.
Massive.
I was so mad that he just never developed into anything. It was
full
painful.
On Eiffel Tower for that guy.
Yeah.
He was all about Corey Davis. And you know who I'm all about? Tyler Conklin at tight end 22. Look out. Absolute unit at the tight end 1 for the New York Jets. All right. Let's get into the highlighted players here. Again, we'll highlight Ryan's first just because he's not here. Ryan put out Xavier Gipson. He simply puts it to Scott Fishbowl cheat code. In, I would assume, 99.9% of your leagues, return touchdowns on kick returns or punt returns don't qualify for individual players. Xavier Gipson is not draftable in those leagues. But if you are playing in Scott Fish, Xavier Gibson could be a nice late round stash because of those return touchdown upsides. He's one of probably the best returners in the NFL currently. We'll jump to the wide receiver room. Mr. Bender, you have Garrett Wilson at wide receiver 8 is currently his ADP. Why do you like him this year?
Listen, I mean, he's ready to take that next step. Obviously, we saw what he's done, like what he's done over the first 2 seasons without a quarterback. I think is pretty impressive. 1,100 yards in his rookie year, over 1,000 last year. Touchdown count hasn't been that high, but again, that's is that Garrett Wilson's fault, or is that the fact that the Jets don't have a quarterback and they can't move the football? You kind of have to go into it here when you're looking at the Jets. Breece Hall is a first round draft pick. Garrett Wilson is tail end of the first round draft pick. So if you're taking one of those players at their ADP, you believe that Aaron Rodgers will be playing 15 to 17 games and that Aaron Rodgers will be reliable. Like Breece Hall, it's kind of funny. Aaron Rodgers kind of, I'm hoping, because as a Jets fan, I'm hoping that Aaron Rodgers has that, realization. Maybe you get somebody gets him to lick a new flavor crystal or something like that, to have that realization that I'm over 40, I'm coming back from a ruptured Achilles tendon, and maybe, just maybe, I shouldn't be such a selfish son of a bitch, and I should just rely on my ground game. I fought it for so long, but maybe there's some validity to doing that. I think I heard the stat that Aaron Rodgers leads I think all quarterbacks in 1-yard touchdowns, right? So that it's that Aaron Rodgers, that if you're taking Breece Hall at his ADP, you're taking Garrett Wilson as his ADP, you're saying that Aaron Rodgers, A, has a clear head, and B, will be healthy for 15 to 17 games. So, maybe it's a fanboy in me for the New York Jets. I'm looking at, Garrett Wilson as a guy who is capable of, like you pointed out, there's no other wide receivers in there. Mike Williams will be, he'll be around for 6, 7, 8 games maybe. So you're just going to have to funnel targets to him over and over again. I think he has himself a good solid season here as long as Aaron Rodgers stays healthy. And I think that he's definitely worth it. He's going to be a target monster, that if Aaron Rodgers can even remotely come back and be somewhat of Aaron Rodgers, then he's going to have a big year.
Yeah, I think even if we get 80% of Aaron Rodgers, you can pretty much lock in 150 targets for Garrett Wilson. So, I don't hate it. I think the wide receiver 8 is definitely on the higher side, considering Rodgers' age and what we saw last year and the disappointment that came with Aaron Rodgers not being there. But again, 2 straight 1,000-yard seasons with Zach Wilson as the predominant quarterback.
Dog.
Yeah, that's basically just saying, I'm about as quarterback proof as you can get. So, I think personally I'd still be a little more comfortable with him as a high-end 2, but I see the value in, hey, a healthy Rodgers, this is an easy wide receiver 1.
But can't you poke holes in that? He's coming off as wide receiver 8, but look at who's at 9, 10, 11. You're talking about guys like Marvin Harrison Jr., Drake London, Chris Olave. You can poke holes in anybody there, any of those. So 100%. Take the guy who's played the last 2 years and been a top wide receiver with garbage at, under center. And I feel
that's probably why I would just pivot to running back at that point.
and Bender, that's such a great point you bring up. I know you've probably played this game on this show. It was invented on the show called Would You Rather. You've never played it before. We invented it probably 4 or 5 years ago when we started doing these shows. Garrett Wilson's in the perfect spot here because at 8, it is a very interesting spot. Your 1 through 5s are pretty clear cut. It's almost personal preference. At that point, you have guys in order: CeeDee Lamb, Tyreek Hill, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, and Amon-Ra St. Brown. For most people, it's personal preference, in all honesty. I think most people are taking CD of all of those, no doubt. But after that, you're getting into pretty much, do you like Amon-Ra more than you like Jamar Chase? And that's where it starts getting a little more nuanced. But here is where it starts getting interesting, because to me, at 6, Puka Nacua feels really fucking high. So, Howard, Puka Nacua or Garrett Wilson?
I will take Garrett Wilson because, I mean, listen, I think Puka Nacua has tremendous talent. It was a great year last year. You also had a banged up Cooper Kupp. Does Cooper Kupp come back healthy? Does he pull in, a little bit more attention this time around? Does McVay try to balance it out between them a little bit a little bit more in order to make this offense a little bit less predictable? So, I don't necessarily know how many 15 target games Puka Nacua is actually going to get. So I would take Garrett Wilson because I think Garrett Wilson, anytime Rodgers is under center, he's going to have double-digit targets. He's going to have it.
Josh?
I would actually go Puka. I agree with everything that Howard says, but I think Puka's got better yak numbers. And that, to me, is just going to lend itself to it's going to lend itself to more yardage and potentially more touchdowns. Plus, they're not shy about using Puka in the running game either.
Cool. Move it. I would go Garrett Wilson. Moving to 7, AJ Brown or Garrett Wilson? Howard.
AJ Brown, actually. Like the targets that he's going to see. I mean, let's not forget Kellen Moore taking over this offense. You don't have Jason Kelce up in the front. You're not going to be, you're going to be running the football fairly heavily with Saquon Barkley. And that's to open up the downfield work. So anytime you've seen Kellen Moore's offense, he loves hitting those downfield receivers. So I think that AJ Brown has a surprisingly strong season this year.
Josh?
I think
it's AJ Brown.
It's AJ Brown. It's AJ Brown.
You're an Eagles fan.
Well, I wouldn't say it's not close, Josh.
For him, he's an Eagles fan.
One can very easily score 10 touchdowns. I don't see the other one doing that.
I don't have faith in Jalen Hurts, so I will go Garrett Wilson, just based off of last year. Towards the end of last year, I did not like what I saw from them, and I also think they all hate Nick Sirianni secretly. So, it's saboteur, as one would say. Jibser, this is the best comment I've ever seen in my life. Aaron Rodgers is the type of guy to put pop rocks up his butt, and not for pleasure, just to experiment, just to see.
I mean, that sounds like your viewer hasn't, experienced any kind of like little butt play. Maybe get your significant other to, use a pinky and see how it feels. I'm just saying.
What's the starter? The pinky or the pop rocks? I feel like pop rocks.
I feel the pinky's got to be the pinky's got to be that, because I mean the pop rocks are obviously liquid activated, and so listen.
Well, when you think about it, that's Aaron Rodgers' personal darkness retreat if he puts pop rocks up there. So he's just trying to share the love.
What flavor pop rocks are we talking about? Does that even matter?
Well, Jets. So green apple, was that a flavor? I'm a strawberry guy. I love strawberry, so I'd say strawberry.
Strawberry Joe.
The fuck are we talking about here?
I don't know, but we got a new nickname here. It's Strawberry Joe, everybody.
I love strawberry flavored stuff. Oh, delicious. Strawberry milkshake, gas. Strawberry banana smoothie, insane.
Uncrustables.
The strawberry Uncrustable, just had one.
Are you 5?
Yeah, dude. I'm sitting at the desk all day. What am I going to do? I'm not going to make a meal or anything like that.
Midlife crisis, depression and Uncrustables on a Wednesday night at 8:49.
Dude, did you not hear the whole Uncrustable story? Like the Chiefs had a team doctor that was banning Uncrustables.
What? Why?
And the entire team revolted against him. They fired this dude and they brought back Uncrustables to the team. The team loves the energy that it gives.
When I worked in baseball, there would be snacks in the dugout for the guys that obviously weren't playing that game. And there would be fruit snacks and there would be granola bars. Every single time there was Uncrustables. They would tear that shit up. They love Uncrustables. So it's 100% very true. Last one for the Would You Rather here, because again, the hype around this guy is massive, and another presumed target hog. Garrett Wilson or Marvin Harrison Jr., Howard?
I'm going to go with Garrett Wilson. I'm going to take the guy who's done it for 2 years as opposed to the guy who's, going to experience some sort of a learning curve, not to mention the fact that it's, you got Kyler Murray, and what he likes to do is, obviously he uses the legs to extend the plays, but, sometimes it doesn't always work out. So give me the guy who's done it before, Garrett Wilson.
Josh.
Garrett Wilson.
Okay. I would say Garrett Wilson as well. I feel Marvin Harrison is probably going to fall a tad come redraft as we get closer. I feel like he's going to fall a few pegs, so that might be interesting for people on the wrap if they wanted to double up on receiver. Obviously, that's never going to be me. I always go running back. And speaking of, Breece Hall is number 3, and that is Josh's guy he wants to talk about. RB3 currently, I believe Breece Hall's highest ADP he's had in his career because he was coming off of injury last year, so it wasn't that high. And a lot of people were worried off that injury last year. Very clearly put that to rest as the RB2 last year behind Christian McCaffrey. He was the guy in one of the worst offenses in the NFL. Presume now, assuming Aaron Rodgers is healthy, did the rest of the offense get much better? No, but putting a quarterback back there is only going to help him open up more running lanes. What do you like about Breece Hall at 3?
Well, first off, they upgraded the offensive line. Yes, Morgan Moses, Tyron Smith, a little bit on the older side, like 32,
and Morgan Moses
33.
is bad. I just want to preface this. Morgan
and
Moses
that's fair,
is
but he's
bad.
also a right tackle, so it's a little less
and bad.
less imperative. So, but they did draft a young tackle at 10 overall, and Talise Fuaga he's got some upside. So, needless to say, Morgan Moses may be short-lived at right tackle, but regardless. Upgraded offensive line weapons is always helpful. Obviously, upgrading the quarterback is always helpful. He has 9 rushing touchdowns over the last 2 years, and not even a full year after ACL. 223 carries, a little over 13 per attempt. He can carry a full load, right? You bring in Braylon Allen in the 4th round. I don't know if Nathaniel Hackett is just trying to convince them that he wants to run an Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon type split, but Braylon Allen ain't that. Give Breece Hall all of the freaking touches. The 95 targets you absolutely love, and we talked about no real wide receiver 2. He could very easily see another 80-plus targets this year, and that's going to play extremely well in PPR leagues. I talked last week about Bijan Robinson having the likely guy to unseat Christian McCaffrey as the RB1. Breece Hall makes a very strong case to do so, and the RB3 price tag is perfectly acceptable for me.
Howard, any thoughts on Breece?
No. I mean, I've kind of summed it up there before. Again, you got to take a leap of faith that Rodgers isn't going to screw him over at the goal line. But again, yeah, there's no competition for touches. I love his work in the passing game. I'm 100% in on Breece Hall at his ADP, maybe even a pick before. Who knows?
Oh, look at that. Breece Hall is currently sandwiched in between Bijan at 2 and Jahmyr Gibbs at 4. Then you're dropping down to Jonathan Taylor and Saquon Barkley at 5 and 6 for those paying attention to ADPs right now. Moving into bets, the best bets for the season long. Players get to choose a sportsbook of their choice, players being Josh Howard and Mr. Ryan, who is not here, Ryan seems to be taking the over on a lot of these guys' passing yards. He has the over on Aaron Rodgers' passing yards, 3,600.5 passing yards. That's minus 112 on FanDuel. He almost hit this with Wilson and co. So I don't know what that explanation means there, but
shitty quarterbacks almost got that much. Aaron Rodgers should very easily do that.
Fantastic. That's what I figured. Josh, you have the Jets to make the playoffs, but you said no. That is plus 135 on DraftKings. And you also put a secondary one in there, Breece Hall to score 10-plus rushing touchdowns. That's also plus money, plus 190 on FanDuel. So
look, I've seen good running backs on bad teams do really, really well. Even if Aaron Rodgers can't do it, Breece Hall is so electric. He can break some. I think they can move this offense a little better with Tyrod Taylor if Aaron Rodgers doesn't get through the whole season healthy.
And you don't believe they make the playoffs? Music to my ears.
It's a tough conference. I mean,
they're not winning the division.
Well, no, I don't think they will. But again, so at that point, do they sneak in as a 7 seed? Like, the AFC North has some really good teams. The AFC West has the Chiefs. South has probably just the division winner that comes out of it. But
you really wanted to say more teams other than the Chiefs.
I kind of did, not going to lie. I had to hold myself for a second. I'm like, wait, the Chargers might take a step back, but we talked about them a few weeks ago. Their schedule could line up to where they could end up as a 4 seed or a 5 seed pretty easily. So
you thought of the teams and you're like, they have the Chiefs. That was it. They have the Chiefs.
Was it like 2 years ago, 3 years ago that everybody was going bonkers over the AFC West? It was going to be like this ridiculously insane division, and where is it now? Well. Like it's the Chiefs.
Correct. It is just the Chiefs. And then Bender, you have Garrett Wilson over 1,200.5 receiving yards. That is even money.
It was like really. There's obviously, I mean, this early in time you bake in because obviously if anybody gets hurt, you're double dipping there on the chances for the under to hit. So I don't mind that at all. For me, I look at this and I say, well, he had 1,100 yards in his rookie campaign. I expect him to take another step. He has a better quarterback, and so if all things just work out and got to be injury agnostic, I think he clears 1,200 yards for the first time.
If Rodgers is healthy, I don't think there's any way he doesn't clear 1,200. That feels pretty easy. Moving into the Minnesota Vikings, heading up north, moving into that. 7-10 last year. Again, it feels weird that they were 7-10. It just didn't feel like it. These teams don't feel like they should be 7-win teams. Same coach, Kevin O'Connell. Same offense. O'Connell calls the plays, but Wes Phillips in his third season as the offensive coordinator. Projected starting offense. J.J. McCarthy currently being drafted as the starter, quarterback 25 in ADP on Underdog. Sam Darnold, his presumed backup, quarterback 34. Could be a chance we see Darnold for the first couple of weeks, and then J.J. comes in. But I don't feel like that is going to be a Minnesota MO. They are probably going to play McCarthy from day one. Aaron Jones changing teams in the NFC North. He is going from Green Bay to Minnesota, RB19 right now. Ty Chandler is back up at RB46. Justin Jefferson signed the largest deal for a wide receiver in NFL history, shortly to most likely be surpassed by CeeDee Lamb at some point. But Justin Jefferson, wide receiver 4 currently, not being drafted at the 101. Thank God. Jordan Addison, wide receiver 39. Brandon Powell, wide receiver 24. And fuck it, Trent Sherfield. 124. Did I say 24? Ooh,
yes,
yeah.
you did.
Yeah. Don't draft Brandon Powell at wide receiver 24 unless you're in my leagues. Then draft him at wide receiver 24. Trent Sherfield, not even drafted, but he is the 4th receiver on the Minnesota Vikings depth chart. Tight end 1, TJ Hockenson, currently the tight end 14. Obviously coming off injury. Josh Oliver, the tight end 2, he is not being drafted. Diving into the highlights here. Starting with Ryan, he points out TJ Hockenson, says it is an insane value if he plays week 1. Hawk has been a top 5 tight end in fantasy football. So if he plays week 1, that is ridiculous value.
Do we think he actually does play in week 1, though?
I don't think he does. It's probably more like week 3, but even then, TJ Hockenson at 14 is insane because what do we say every year? You can find a top 10 tight end on the waiver wire every single week. Ryan has built a top 5 tight end of streaming tight ends every single year.
That's what he does.
He's built Evan Ingram 3 straight seasons off of fucking Donald Parham and Cole Kmet and these fucking schlubs that are on the waiver wire. He's built Evan Ingram out of them. Again, you have to be right every single time you do it, but it is possible. But TJ Hockenson at tight end 14 is a steal, especially if he is playing week 1. We'll start in the backfield this time instead of the receiver room. Aaron Jones, RB19. Bender, Aaron Jones likes to not be on the football field for a good amount of time in the fantasy football season. When he is on the field, at least in Green Bay, it felt very frustrating at times. Yes, he ended pretty well on the season, but as a guy who's had him, it was frustrating watching games where he just looked non-existent for a lot of the time. He goes to a different team. I wouldn't say this offense is much better than his offense in Green Bay, but he's not being drafted as high, presumably, as previous years. Do you like Jones at 19, or are you staying away?
I'm okay with where he's being taken right now. If I go wide receiver heavy early in my draft, then I would consider grabbing Aaron Jones if I needed to, attack the running back position. The problem is that, is he 30 years old? He's not coming off of a great year. Like you said, he gets banged up. One of the issues, though, also is that he's going from an offense where the coach loves to run the ball, right, to an offense where they don't love to run it as much. And, Kevin O'Connell and Wes Phillips they're all about throwing the football. So, I kind of worry about what kind of a workload Jones is going to have, because you'd think that they're like, well, he's 30 years old. We have to make sure that we keep him fresh throughout the entire time. So does he get spelled a little bit too often or whatnot? I think if you've gone, in that realm of taking like 3 wide receivers and a tight end with your first 4 picks, and you're like, do I go for a quarterback here, or do I hit the running back position? And, you tilt into an Aaron Jones. It's not, you're settling for Aaron Jones. You're not targeting Aaron Jones.
That's fair. Go ahead, Josh.
I don't hate him as a 0 RB kind of target. I mean, somebody that you can get probably in the 6th or 7th round. But I mean, when you look at the way that this RB room is built, these guys are designed to catch passes more than anything, not really be heavy workload kind of running backs. I feel like if they can get 330 carries out of Aaron Jones and Ty Chandler combined, I think they might actually be happy with that, as weird as that may sound, which is strange considering they're going into the season with a rookie quarterback.
So let's do something I never do, and let's play 0 RB strategy here for a sec. Would you rather? I 3 straight running backs in the first 3 rounds. I'm a crazy man. That might change this year because I think people hate running backs now. So I might have to bite on a receiver, and I'll be like, oh, that's fine. I can still get a guy like Etienne in round 4. But I will go with guys 6th round and on. Aaron Jones is RB19. The first guy being drafted in the 6th round is RB16. We'll go down a little further after that. Kenneth Walker or Aaron Jones? I don't think I need much of an explanation here, but is anybody taking Aaron Jones over Kenneth Walker?
No.
Not Kenneth Walker for me.
Not a chance, right? So that one's easy. Alvin Kamara or Aaron Jones? Bender.
Kamara.
Josh.
Yeah, Kamara, easy. I have him as a top 10 RB this year.
Not even close at that point. Not even close. David Montgomery or Aaron Jones? I think this one's interesting. Bender.
Yeah, this is where it kind of tightens up. And this is where, I'll probably take David Montgomery because, it's so funny. We keep elevating Jahmyr Gibbs up and up and up and up. Did we forget that Dan Campbell said it last year? He's like, I like a guy to get 15, 20 carries and pound that rock. And then the other guy is like my flash guy, my pass catching and everything like that. It's still David Montgomery over there. So I'll take him in this situation over Aaron Jones.
Josh.
Yeah, David Montgomery. He's going to have 12 plus touchdowns anyway. So, I'm going to take that all day.
Aaron Jones at 19. Najee Harris or Aaron Jones? Najee Harris is RB20.
I'm going to go with
How much do you bet on Arthur Smith running it so
He's
much?
agonizing over this right now.
That Najee Harris is actually fantasy relevant. Keep in mind, that offensive line still sucks, but Arthur Smith is there.
It is Arthur Smith, but, listen, I'm more concerned about who the 3rd string tight end is in Pittsburgh than really, the running back room. They'll share the carries between Jaylen Warren and Najee Harris.
Jaylen Warren at 25 looks way better than Harris at 20.
Yeah, I'll probably take.
Honestly, they still both look good.
I'll probably take Aaron Jones over Najee.
Okay, Josh.
I would take Najee.
Okay, so this is why it's interesting. I think Aaron Jones is a little high right now. Ramondre Stevenson or Aaron Jones? Howard.
Ramondre, yeah.
Josh.
Ramondre.
Okay, a little interesting here. Jonathan Brooks or Aaron Jones? Howard.
All right, I'm going to go with Aaron Jones here, though I will qualify it in saying that if I know that I'm going to target like Chuba Hubbard as a handcuff here, because what I want that Carolina offense. Like, what Dave Canales did for Rachaad White. And maybe
you might be the only person in the industry saying they want the Carolina offense in fantasy.
Well, no, what I'm saying is, like, if you're going 0 RB and you're waiting on the running back position, I'd take Jonathan Brooks, knowing that, because what happens is, you get the new coach, the new system who's in there. So the guys who are there already really have to endear themselves to the coaching staff. Jonathan Brooks was picked by this coaching staff. They used good, strong draft capital in order to acquire him. So they wanted to be Jonathan Brooks. And seeing what Dave Canales' system did for Rachaad White, say what you want about the underlying metrics. Yards after contact weren't great. Yards per carry weren't like phenomenal. It was volume based. And I think when you've got a quarterback like Bryce Young, you need a volume based running back. So I'd take Aaron Jones here over Jonathan Brooks because Jones has the job right now, but it's real close for me.
Josh.
It's Brooks for me.
If you could guarantee me Brooks is in there week 1, I think it's
even if he's not.
Oh, if you're guaranteeing me that he's in there week 1, but I got to see what he looks like in camp. I got to see what he looks like.
I agree with that. So I'm just going to go through these quick because, again, I feel Aaron Jones is super high right now. And I'm just going to say a name. And if you think you would take Aaron Jones over this person, just speak up. Zamir White or Aaron Jones?
White.
I still have Jones higher.
Okay. I feel like that one's decently close.
That one's close.
Yeah.
That one's close.
DeAndre Swift.
I'll take Jones.
Okay. Josh.
I also would take Jones.
Okay.
I mean, unless you could tell me that DeAndre Swift is actually going to do something productive more than twice a year.
That's fair. I completely agree with that. And a lot more mouths to feed in that offense. I'm going to jump around a bit. I'm going to skip 25 and 26. James Conner at 27 or Aaron Jones at 19?
Conner.
If you're going 0 RB.
Conner,
right? He feels low. Yeah. Raheem Mostert at 28.
You can't bank on the touchdowns for Raheem Mostert again.
I agree.
You can't do it. I'll say Jones there.
Last two. Tony Pollard as your 0 RB or Aaron
Pollard,
Jones.
Easy. Pollard. Easy
yeah, probably Pollard.
And then last one, we'll talk about him later. Javonte Williams or Aaron Jones as your 0 RB?
Javonte.
Yeah, Javonte.
Javonte Williams is RB 31 currently in ADP going at the end of the 9th round.
I get him every single best ball draft.
So Jones is going very high compared to what's happening here. Now, if you're a guy that goes RB early like myself, and I'm not an Aaron Jones person, if you told me you took Jones as your 3rd running back, fine. I'm not even doing that. I don't love it. I personally don't love it. I think maybe he falls as we.
I was going to say I'm curious to see how much his ADP might start slipping as we get more into redraft season.
And just for reference, some names I skipped over: Jalen Warren, Zach Moss, and Trey Benson. Those are some other names. Which again,
I would take Jones over Benson.
I would take Jones over all 3.
And that's where I think there's a good debate between all those. I brought up the other ones because it's crazy to me that Pollard and Williams are that much lower than Aaron Jones. That's why. I'll get Pollard in the 9th round every single day and twice on Sundays. Josh, over to you. In the receiver room, Jordan Addison, dog of a rookie year. We love USC wide receivers on this show, Juju Smith-Schuster notwithstanding. And we pretty much called it on the live draft show last year, saying the Vikings did to the Chargers what they did to the Eagles. With
the Eagles made up for it. We're good.
With the Justin Jefferson and Jalen Reagor situation, they did that with the Chargers taking Quentin Johnston and them getting Jordan Addison falling in their lap. He's wide receiver 39 currently. After last year's performance, it feels lower than it should be, but his quarterback situation is a coin flip right now. We don't know what J.J. McCarthy is going to be or if Sam Darnold's even going to play for a few games. Do you like him at 39? Are you staying away because the quarterback situation's uncertain? What are you feeling?
Yeah, this is roughly about where I have him in my projections, but I can definitely see him outperforming this ADP. You know, we literally just talked about this is Kevin O'Connell wants to throw the football, right? Will it change with a rookie quarterback? I don't know. But let's work under the assumption that they're still going to throw the football a ton. If TJ Hockenson misses a few games, that's more targets for Jordan Addison, right? If TJ Hockenson doesn't miss a few games, there's still 3 top targets in this offense for them to each get 7+ targets every single week. Mm-hmm. And that's not an exaggeration. Jordan Addison was on pace for over 800 yards without Kirk Cousins. and then in separate instances without Justin Jefferson. He was going to have a good rookie season regardless. He still scored 10 touchdowns last year as a rookie. How many times has Justin Jefferson done that? And he's been in the league 4 years.
I'm going to guess 0. Oh, 1.
He's done it once. He has
that.
done it once. But that's the point I'm getting at. Justin Jefferson, for as great as he is, doesn't find the end zone maybe as much as we might want for a top wide receiver target. Jordan Addison proved right away he can score a lot of touchdowns. So even if he's still, kind of hovers in that 7, 8, 900 passing or receiving yard range, if he brings the touchdowns and he has a Courtland Sutton type season in his sophomore year that Sutton had last year, I mean, that's still a top 36 wide receiver, in my opinion. He pays off at ADP, but there's still plenty of room for upside given the possibility of increased passing volume, the possibility that Hockenson maybe isn't ready by the start of the season and maybe has some hiccups from coming back from a late season injury. I love the value. Justin Jefferson's the easy pick. I get it. We don't need to spend a lot of time talking about him on really any preview show, right? We want the guys that maybe can outperform ADP. Jordan Addison can be that guy.
For reference, where Jordan Addison is currently going, it is a heavy-filled receiver 6th round, according to ADP on Underdog, with guys ranging from Xavier Worthy all the way down to DeAndre Hopkins in the 6th round. Guys in the names of Worthy, Calvin Ridley, Chris Godwin, Roma Dunze, Ladd McConkey, and Keon Coleman. He is currently flanked by 2 rookies, Roma Dunze and Ladd McConkey, in terms of ADP. So if you listen to last week's show, he is mixed in with that bunch between Ridley and Hopkins, along with a lot of those rookies where people seem to be putting them as it were right now. Moving into the bets here, top 3 favorites. Ryan, aforementioned Justin Jefferson over 1,300.5 receiving yards is the favorite on FanDuel, minus 110. He averaged 100 yards per game last year without Cousins. That's pretty damn good, if one might say. That is pretty damn
he played 10
good.
games last year and had 1,074 yards. Like, that's insane.
Pretty good. Josh, you have Jordan Addison over 775.5 receiving yards. That's minus 112 on FanDuel. And Bender, you have whenever the prop lands, you are over 900 rushing yards for Aaron Jones.
No, did I write over?
No.
Under.
Greater, less than. No, that's greater than 900 rushing yards. That's
where did I wrrite that?
No, because his pick would be on the left side of that, which means it would be less.
Wherever the prop lands, I'm under.
I
900
don't do
yards.
math.
Yeah, it's under 900. It's under 900 whenever it happens.
Okay, under.
I'll bet it down. I'll even say if it goes down to 850, I would still take the under on that. I just don't have any faith in that in him racking up a ton of rushing yards here.
Boom.
I'm with you on that one.
All right, moving into the Denver Broncos, as Bender has a hard out for us. We're going to fly through these here. 8-9 last year, same coach Sean Payton, same offense. Payton calls the plays, but Joe Lombardi, the OC in his 2nd season. Your starting lineup, Bo Nix, the presumed Week 1 starter. He's the quarterback 31 in ADP. Zach Wilson and Jarrett Stidham, just screw them, essentially. Javonte Williams, RB31. Jaleel McLaughlin, RB52. Audric Estime.
Oh, I definitely auto-corrected that one. Sorry.
I was like Austin Eckler. No, it says Austin Estime, but it's Audric Estime, RB68. And Samaje Perine, RB76. Wide receiver 1, Courtland Sutton at 49. Troy Franklin at 75. Marvin Mims Jr. at 76. Josh Reynolds, 97. And the boy, my guy, Tim Patrick, wide receiver 118. Don't underestimate that man. Please, God, let him come back from 2 ACL injuries. Greg Dulcich, tight end 1 at tight end 32, and Adam Troutman, tight end 2, not being drafted currently. Josh, I'll let you quickly talk on Courtland Sutton here. He's wide receiver 49. He feels cheap for a wide receiver 1 for a guy who definitely produced last year.
Yeah, I mean, 10 touchdowns is great, but everything else, not so much. 90 targets, 770-something receiving yards. So nothing special, but again, you love the touchdowns, and that's all Russell Wilson right there. I mean, for as bad of a season as he had 28 passing touchdowns. I don't think you're getting that this year out of Bo Nix and, however many games he doesn't start. But I think what Sean Payton's trying to do is build this offense the way that he built the Saints. And that, to me, screams Courtland Sutton playing that Marquez Colston role, What's going to be interesting to me, because they had no issue spreading the football around last year, but they had a more experienced number 2 wide receiver in this offense with Jerry Jeudy. You don't have anybody like that next to Courtland Sutton this year. Sutton only had a 17.5% target share last year. In my projections right now, I have him right at about 20, but I could see a scenario where Courtland Sutton takes 28% of a target share because Troy Franklin can't step up in his rookie year and Marvin Mims is nothing more than a kick returner. Like, those are very valid situations that could very easily play out for this Denver Broncos offense. And I think at wide receiver 49 prices, Courtland Sutton might be on every single one of my teams going into 2024.
And Troy Franklin's bad at football, so that really doesn't help.
Look, one could argue he made Bo Nix pretty good, so
Hey, listen, there's a lot going on in this offense right now. Listen, it's Sean Payton, but it's Joe Lombardi. It's Joe Lombardi's offense. And the reason that Courtland Sutton popped last year, and you know what? I'll take a victory lap and I'll accept my flowers on this one. I told everybody and their grandmother to draft Courtland Sutton because he was
BDX.
He was going in like the 10th round.
Yeah.
I was like, just take him. He is the X receiver in a Joe Lombardi system. We saw what happened with Michael Thomas. We saw what happened with Marquez Colston. We saw what happened with Mike Williams last year. Or 2 years ago, and it was happening for Courtland Sutton. And that's the way it is. Tim Patrick being healthy could throw the monkey wrench in there because if Tim Patrick does come back, he could challenge to be the X receiver in this system. So I'm not as bullish on Courtland Sutton just yet until I see Tim Patrick limping around the first time during training camp. But I'm in on Sutton. I love it. I think it's just a smart play if you're following what the system does.
Real quick before we go into Javonte, Courtland Sutton currently wide receiver 49. Guys around him include Rashee Rice, Jamison Williams, Curtis Samuel, and Tyler Lockett.
Take Sutton over all of them.
Sutton over every single one of them. So he is currently in a very good spot for those of you that like Courtland Sutton. All right, to the backfield. This one is going to have some back and forth here. And Bender, we'll start with you. Javonte Williams is the RB31. He is coming off a season where he came in injured, but has a full off season now. He's chilling, should be all good, healthy, 100% ready to go. Everyone loved him coming out. The injury derailed him. Do you feel good about Javonte Williams this year?
I do. I love Javonte Williams this year, and I love where he's going in drafts, and I keep grabbing him every chance I get. Again, take a look at what Joe Lombardi has done with his running backs. He made Alvin Kamara exactly what he is, a phenomenal pass-catching running back. Does he have the capability to take it between the tackles? Yes, he does. Does Javonte have that same capability? Yes, he does. We saw with Austin Eckler. How many passes did Austin Eckler catch 2 years ago? And then once Lombardi left and it was Kellen Moore, I was like, stop taking Austin Eckler. And what happened? His targets fell off. Every year, Joe Lombardi, his offense, I think over like the last 10 years, I think the lowest that his running backs ever ranked in his passes thrown to running backs was like third. Like, he does that. He funnels, and now he's got Bo Nix, who basically made his entire college career, on checkdowns to the running back. This is taking a quarterback who knows exactly what Joe Lombardi wants to do. Don't make any big mistakes. You'll get your big passes down there, but your bread and butter is your running back, and you want to make sure that that's it. Like Javonte Williams, yes, used all of last year to get himself back. I know that Cecil Lammy, this Denver Broncos beat writer, was like, oh, Jaleel McLaughlin's going to be the number one guy. Jaleel McLaughlin is 4'3" and 86 pounds. When he's wet, he's a pass-catching running back. He doesn't take it between the tackles. I'm telling you, a full healing season here and a nice offseason for Javonte Williams. I'm not buying. Jaleel McLaughlin will get some work, sure, but no way that he supplant Javonte Williams this year.
Josh?
This is what I find interesting with all of this Jaleel McLaughlin talk, because when you look at the targets per route run, the yards per route run, those numbers for McLaughlin are very high. And I feel like he's more of a stat sheet bro kind of player at this point versus the film grinders and are just like, what are we talking about here? Like, this isn't it, right? But you could see the amount of passing down work that McLaughlin was starting to get. He still was only third in this running back room in targets behind both Samaje Perine and Javonte Williams. Javonte Williams had a sneaky good pass catching season for a running back last year. But what I find really interesting is how this room could potentially shake out. Because Sean Payton didn't draft Javonte Williams. There's a good chance that Javonte Williams isn't even on this team at the start of the season. I'm saying there's a chance. I'm not saying it's a good chance or a great chance. Could be a small chance.
Listening to Cecil Lammy. You're listening to a beat writer who wants to like gobble the wiener of the head coach so that he doesn't lose his locker room privileges.
That feels like a Sean Payton thing to do, so I don't blame him.
That's kind of my point. Like, you know, he spent his very first draft pick with the Broncos on a wide receiver and then basically said, yeah, you still got to beat out Jerry Jeudy. And then went through and traded Jerry Jeudy this offseason and still isn't like ready to hand him anything, right? He goes through, he didn't draft Javonte Williams. He plucks McLaughlin out of nowhere on free agency because he went undrafted and then spends a 4th-round pick on Audric Estime, who by all accounts can handle that in-between tackles workload, right? This is what he had with the Saints. He had the pass catching back in Alvin Kamara, and then he had the in-between tackles guy in Mark Ingram. If we're projecting this backfield, why couldn't that be Estime and McLaughlin, right? I'm saying it could happen. I love Javonte Williams where he is going. I'm not fully discounting Jaleel McLaughlin as a pass-catching back that could take a lot more of that work from Javonte Williams.
Well, look what Josh just handed me. Oh, thanks, Josh. Appreciate that, man. Thank you so much. It's really done some wonders to your brain right now.
Love that. Swag Dad, I see your comment on Twitch. Drop in the trade and we'll bring it up and we'll give you some advice here. Some guys going around Javonte Williams, for those listening. Tony Pollard.
Javonte.
Trey Benson.
Javonte.
Devin Singletary.
Javonte.
Brian Robinson Jr.
Javonte.
Tajay Spears.
Javonte.
Yeah, Javonte over all of them.
I would take Pollard over Javonte currently, but
he's the only one I would take.
Here, Joe, this one's yours.
Bender, what did we say going into last year? What did we say after 2022? Pollard is better as a 1A, 1B guy, as a split backfield.
Mm-hmm.
And what did we say going into last year? He's not going to do as well because he's the lead back. His yards per carry is going to drop. He's now back in a split backfield. Why are we so low on Tony Pollard?
It's not that I'm so low on Tony Pollard. It's that I'm so high
on Javonte Williams. Yeah, there you go. Hand yourself that thing. All right, Swag Dad. Etienne in a 2026 third for George Pickens, Zay Flowers, a first next year and a second in 2026. Says he really needs a running back this year, and he already has a stacked receiver room. So he would be getting Etienne in a third. He would be giving up Pickens, Zay Flowers, a 2025 first, and a 2026 second. Obviously, this is Dynasty. His receiver room will be Diggs, Debo, Higgins, and Neighbors. While that is stacked currently, there's probable changes in Debo and T. Higgins.
Mm-hmm.
And Diggs is currently contending with a guy who they just gave a nice contract extension to. So I'm personally staying put.
Yeah, that's a lot to give up for Etienne, in my opinion.
Yeah. If you I'd
be fine doing like Pickens and a 1 for Etienne. That to me is more along the lines of the value that I see, because I don't really see Etienne as like a no doubt top 5 running back. Like, he's getting volume, sure, but the way that this volume has been working for him, he's been tailing off so hard in the second half of seasons. Like, he needs a break. Like, he's not a full on like workhorse kind of guy that we want in Dynasty, right? I would take advantage of the perceived bump in value that Pickens has, package that 2025 first, go get Etienne, hang on to Flowers and the extra 26 pick.
Yeah, I agree completely.
Getting rid of the first next year isn't too much of an issue. By all accounts, next year's draft is supposed to be pretty poopy. By all accounts, it's not supposed to be as low.
I mean, the wide receiver class will be good, and the running back class will be better.
The running back class is supposed to be good, but if you need,
at the end of the day, you're still trying to win, right? Like,
yeah,
getting Etienne this year is going to help you win, and if you do, then that 2025 first is well worth the price. So,
yeah, I would. Yeah, it's too steep currently, but yeah, I don't mind. If you wanted to interchange Flowers or Pickens for the first in a 2025 first for him, I think that's fine. Whoever you like the least, or ever the guy you're trading with likes the most, guy or girl, I would go with that. Bets to wrap it up here. Top 3 favorites. Ryan has Denver will allow the most points in the 2024 season.
That was an interesting one. I like that.
I didn't even know that was a thing. That's plus 800 on FanDuel.
FanDuel's got some interesting bets. I was looking through it earlier today, yeah.
Because FanDuel wants your fucking money is what they want. Allowed the 6th most points last year and no big improvements on defense. Plus, he says the addition of Zach Wilson. And one of our loyal listeners, Emma, says Bo picks. So that's going to be tough for them. Josh, you have Bo picks to win Offensive Rookie of the Year at plus 2,000. Josh really just loves throwing away his money on this show. Insanity. I get the odds are good, but really?
Well, but again, I mean, you're looking at these quarterbacks. Like, these are the guys that typically win these awards. Like,
just go to McDonald's, buy a Big Mac meal, and then throw it out the fucking window. Like, that's a better use of your $10 to win $200 than waiting for Bo Nix to disappoint you for 18 weeks. You could do that right now and have the exact same outcome. You lost $10. That's the exact same outcome.
I mean, at the end of the day, if you're not betting on Marvin Harrison Jr. to win this award, you can make that same argument for every bet.
It's okay. Bender, you says wherever this prop lands, you're Javonte over 55 receptions.
That one was interesting.
This season.
Over 55.
Listen, what did he have? He had 48 catches, 47 catches last year, didn't he?
Yeah. So I know he was up there in targets. I think he had 58 targets, which again,
we'll definitely see where it lands. But I think that especially with all of this talk now from of how amazing Estime and Jaleel McLaughlin are, keep that prop nice and low, baby. I'll take that over all day long.
Audric Estime and his 4.75 40 speed.
I mean, look, Javonte Williams ain't much better at 4.65 or whatever it was that he ran. So
listen, we started the show by saying Daniel Bellinger is built like a fridge. I think Audric Estime is built like a fucking washing machine. So just bookending the show
like an old 1970s washing machine.
He's like a 1950s Ford Victoria with no power steering. Like that's what he is. Yeah.
Gotta turn the car.
Yeah, really gonna put all your weight and muscle into it to just make a nice 90-degree turn.
He's the rotary phone of running backs.
Oh.
Okay, that's a good one. I like that.
Yeah. It takes you a while to actually
Joe has no idea what a rotary phone is.
I know what a rotary phone is. I know that my mom lived in a 2-story house. And if she was on the top floor and somebody in the bottom floor wanted to talk, she had to toss the phone out the window, and they caught it, and they talked through the phone out the window, and then she reeled it back up, and then she talked on the phone. I don't know how the fuck they work, but I know that that's what happened. Okay?
Technology.
Yeah, now, do you know kids, when you say, okay, how would you do, the phone symbol? Most people do this. Kids do this now. They do this because that's how they hold their iPhone. What the fuck is this? Yeah, insane.
Said, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, what the fuck is
this?
It's
a Lego movie.
What the fuck is this?
Oh, well, boys, it has been a trip. I'll tell you that.
Bender, where can everyone find you?
Twitter at RotoBuzzGuy. Find me all over the pages at fantasyalarm.com. Find me in the New York Post. Find me on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio Monday through Friday, 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern.
And see you right back here tomorrow night
Oh yeah, that's
Mock
right.
Drill Summer with Wendy. Yeah,
that's right. Another Club Fantasy Football show. I'm very excited about that. But gentlemen, I love you so much. Thank you so much for having me. But I'm
double
booked. Appreciate you, bud.
Thank you, Bender. As we wrap up the show, say goodbye to Bender. Again, catch him tomorrow night. Mock Girl Summer, Wendy, Julia, he, and Casey Kasem will be on the show tomorrow.
Julia will be off, actually.
Julia Psych will be off because what the hell do I know outside of reading the show sheet that Josh puts together every single week. Big thank you to Bender. Look inside in full swing. Check the website. Player-specific articles. This week's write-up, Breece Hall, is up. 2 more dropping on Friday with 3 new previews each and every week. Next week's episode, Raiders, Saints, Colts with Matt Donnelly from Dynasty Vipers. We go live at a special time of 9 p.m. Eastern. This is all news to me. Wow. 9
Well, because
Eastern.
you wouldn't know anyway. We literally said 8:30 last week, and you still didn't know we were on at 8:30 this week.
I remembered we were on at 8:30, and I chose to forget. So thank you very much. All right, it's personal choice on what I remember. Make sure you subscribe. We appreciate everyone, each and every one of you that are subscribed. Again, the goal for us before the season's a lofty one, 2K before the season, but thank you to everyone that helped us cross the 1K mark. We're hoping to get to 2K as soon as possible, and the closer we get, the more fun we get to have with you guys. We have shows every single day of the week, if not almost every single day of the week at this point. Again, newest show, Mock Girl Summer tomorrow at 10 p.m. Eastern, Mock It Like It's Hot, Ryan and Austin, Saturday at 11, Dynasty After Party, Sundays at 11. Those are both a.m. Mocking with the Stars, Mondays at 10 p.m., Masterclass with Gator J and Stacy, Tuesdays at 8:30. And then if you like a little golf, even if you don't, you like winning money because apparently these guys are pretty good at it. Who's Your Caddy, Wednesdays at 9 a.m. Eastern. They know what the hell they're talking about. Josh doesn't know like a shit about golf, and he won some pretty good money based off of their recommendations. So definitely take a peek at that. Stay tuned because Summer School with Austin and Matt's Best Ball Show returning, as well as a couple other new shows on the horizon. All the more reason to subscribe. And we are just about, what are we now, 7 weeks away from Women of Fantasy Football?
Yeah.
We're right around the corner, about 2 months away from one of our favorite months here where we bid adieu for the entire month and let the ladies take over for Women of Fantasy Football Month during the month of August and that last Sunday in September before the NFL season starts. For Josh, myself, and Mr. Ryan Weiss and Howard, who has left us since. Josh, do you need to say anything else? I feel like you have something.
No, you covered it
say.
all. Yeah, you covered it all.
I nailed it. How fucking good am I? For someone who doesn't read the show sheet beforehand, just an absolute treat to have on the show.
Like one of those news anchors. It just reads what's typed even if it's wrong. So
yeah, I'm like Ron Burgundy. Fuck you, San Diego. For Josh, Ryan, Howard, and myself, works 100% of the time, 60% of the time. You can follow Club Fantasy on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Club Fantasy FFL. The URL is clubfantasyffl.com. Always remember, defense wins championships, offense wins fantasy football. We will see you next week at 9 p.m. Eastern. Another special time next week to talk Raiders, Saints, and Colts with Matt Donnelly from Dynasty Vipers. We'll see you next week.